And I think the validator topic is also a great transition and something that Greg, you can share more insights on, because most of the validator infrastructure still relies on Web 2, right? Like you have to run the server and you have to run the software there, and mostly you do it through Google Cloud, AWS, and all these kind of like centralized companies, right? And if they have outages or if they go down, basically your validator goes down, and it affects the security of the chain. So can you talk a little bit about this, what you guys are doing with Akash and how that benefits the kind of like security and validator infrastructure, especially for Cosmos chains?
So I mean, I think everything should run on Akash, but in reality, Akash has some really good software that makes validator operations easy, Akash Omnibus and whatnot, but Akash fundamentally is much lower level, right? It's very primitive in the sense it's a container runtime. It's a compute marketplace that you can acquire compute for lower cost in a fully permissionless and open way, right? But if you want to run validators, you still need to put in the work on top, right? From a manageability standpoint. So the right now the landscape, I mean, I truly believe all the applications, I mean, especially decentralized applications, should run on a decentralized cloud. Just don't run on Amazon. I mean, run on anything else, right? And they should run effectively in a manner where they're much more tolerant to adversarial conditions, right? So if a lot of nodes are running on Amazon shutting you down, could affect the security of the network. But rather, if you have nodes running elsewhere, you're okay, right? So Akash is a great place because it's a marketplace that lets you get to these cloud-grade data centers in a very frictionless way, right? So I think that's the advantage Akash provides. And also cost perspective, it's like 90% cheaper than Azure and like 80% cheaper than Amazon. So why wouldn't you, right? And now you have other manageability features where you have like some sort of a DDoS protection, where you have, if your RPC server or whatever is getting like DDoS, I mean, you can sort of like, respawn that workload pretty easily on a network. But increasingly, we're seeing cloud-based, Coinbase Cloud getting in pretty aggressively with a lot of Cosmos chains, which is great because Coinbase Cloud, again, they offer a lot more services Akash can offer because they're fully custodial, right? So I don't think, I definitely think infrastructure, especially decentralized infrastructure, should be decentralized as much as possible. But and Akash provides these guardrails where you can actually spread your workloads across different clouds. So the choice is yours, essentially.
I think,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I do think that there is going to be increasing regulatory pressure on front ends. Front ends are kind of the thing that regulators understand. And I think the Akash's story as a host of front ends and analytics layers, I think maybe an even more important story than validator nodes. I think from a regulatory point of view, like I would say that regulators maybe are still figuring out validators, and like don't consider and like maybe don't understand them well enough to prioritize them, but also view them as currently kind of not hugely a natural target. Whereas front ends and ETL layers and data layers are clearly sort of in the line of sight. And so we as an ecosystem really need to create an environment which we really like. I mean, like the less we look like Web 2 and the less we look like fintech, and the more like this idea of having a settlement layer that is open and that like many things can talk to, the more it's like tangible, the stronger that we will be from a regulatory point of view. This is a preview of my thing here.
100%. I think I should, before regulatory action, we should be more worried about browsers blocking URLs. See what's happening with Skynet, for example, Saya. Chrome blocks 80% of SIA's URLs. Most of Europe, you can't even access SIA's URLs. Most of in Gmail, if you put a SIA link, it'll go away. Twitter will block it. I think you're going to see a lot of that come by, but in DeFi, so it's very important for us to like decentralize and I think from a SIA's standpoint, they did make a mistake of using TLDs, reusing TLDs, right? With Akash, we're moving that away. We're sort of like getting unique IP addresses, right? So there are a lot of new features that allows for further decentralization, further protection from your traditional, decentralized hosting solutions today. But to Zakir's point, yeah, I mean, the first touch point being TLDs, they should go away. And some of the cool ideas that we thought about was maybe the wallets themselves should have provisioning of UIs directly. I mean, Kepler, there's no reason why you shouldn't launch a Osmosis UI directly from Kepler that's fully dedicated to you, and an RPC server that is fully dedicated to you and it works for you. Maybe even a validator node if you want that level of like sovereignty, right? A full stack DeFi layer. Say you're a fund and you're trading, you want your own cost model, right? You should be able to launch that directly from your Kepler wallet, and that's the ultimate decentralization, where the user ultimately is responsible for the UI, right? And the company doesn't operate any UIs, right? And Akash provides you the runtime, for your container, where you don't need to have Dockers or whatever running on your computer.
Yeah.